482. It seems like there are only 3 digits in the barcode, but in reality, it's much more interesting. Because when we buy products made in Ukraine, everyone benefits. 482, made in Ukraine.
Today we'll actually find out
why it's not recommended to eat homegrown potatoes.
What are elite and super elite potatoes?
There are no French fry potato producers in Ukraine.
Not all potatoes are suitable for making chips.
There are Ukrainian potatoes for chips.
Secrets of how to grow 20,000 tons of potatoes a year.
On any soil without moisture, nothing will grow.
And in general, why should you buy Ukrainian? After all, when we buy local products, almost 40% of the cost returns to the state. And it gives more opportunities to support our cities. Made in Ukraine? By the way, did you know that potatoes have more chromosomes than humans? Humans have 46, while potatoes have 48. Meet the Adelaide Farming Enterprise. Founded in 1992, the primary specialization is in cultivating high-quality potatoes and elite seed potatoes of the first and second reproduction cycles.
Today we're talking about potato farming. This is probably in crop production, in field crop production, the most challenging crop which behaves differently every year, which is very strongly affected by the weather.
I dug up potatoes a long time ago. Really, you dug up potatoes a long time ago?
No. For potatoes, the most important thing is the temperature regime. If during the day the temperature rises above 28 degrees and we place thermometers inside the ridge and measure the temperature inside, if it rises above 24 degrees there, it means the potatoes are overheated. And we can't dig them up and immediately put them in storage because they'll get steamed and start to spoil.
Our farm is absolutely a family farm. We started it together, my wife, my mother-in-law, and I. Later, our children joined us. Now we have a big family, including everyone who currently works with us on the farm.
By the way, to determine whether there will be a harvest under a bush or not, you need to look at the thickness of the stem. The longer the stem, the better the harvest will be. Nothing else matters, nothing greener. Everything depends precisely on the thickness of the stem and the potato's ability to produce tubers.
The Adelaide family farm was founded on the left bank of Kherson region, in the village of Chulakivka, which is still under occupation. In 2021, we carried out a reconstruction of the irrigation systems and had almost 1,800 hectares of irrigated land, with completely new equipment, new water pipelines, everything brand new, and we built a large storage facility there for 15,000 tons. And unfortunately now all of it remains under occupation. We collectively moved north, we were evacuated, and subsequently all the specialists, indeed most of the dedicated people who diligently worked with us, they left and ultimately came here to this new location, and we then continued our important work here.
Wow, this pile is huge, my goodness.
This is the Ukrainian variety Fadinya. It's very similar to what our grandparents used to grow. It's great for mashed potatoes.
Mashed potato soup? Mashed potato soup, just like that. Well, it's not for fries, not
for chips. This is specifically a table variety for cooking at home or in restaurants.
We were forced to work very intensively in a completely new and technological way. We are now growing almost 500 hectares of potatoes in the Zhytomyr region. We are implementing irrigation here because without irrigation it's already impossible to grow potatoes even in the north of Ukraine. And we are introducing new technologies in storage and in everything else. This includes chemicals, fertilizers, crop protection, soil treatment, chemical amelioration, soil management, irrigation, everything. Right now we are zoning our fields and we are conducting a more in-depth analysis. We will be accumulating all the data and information. And we will move on to precision farming, which many people talk about, but few actually know what it is.
So what is precision farming?
It's when your land is divided by the hectare.
And
for each hectare, you understand the condition of the soil there. And then each of these hectares is also monitored, how the plant is growing there and which element needs to be added.
This process involves using natural substances such as agricultural lime or dolomite or synthetic ones like phosphogypsum to significantly improve the soil's overall condition and its crucial chemical and physical properties. For example, in situations where there is a particularly high magnesium content, we frequently observe the formation of undesirable clods, severely compacted soil, very poor water permeability, and numerous other related agricultural problems. Where, on the contrary, there is a magnesium deficiency but an excess of calcium, we have the opposite situation. Here, water passes through too quickly, it doesn't stay in the soil, and the plants are more susceptible to drought and other problems. Now it's the beginning of September, it hasn't rained for more than 20 days, but our soil, firstly, retains moisture, and secondly, it's absolutely easy to dig.
And this isn't Chernozem, is it?
This is absolutely not Chernozem. Many people think that Chernozem is the best soil, but I would say that every type of soil has its own suitable crops. So there is no such thing as bad soil. There are just bad owners who don't know how to work with their land.
How profitable exactly is this particular business venture?
It depends on how much you invest and how great the return is. If you know how to work the land, if you know how to listen to it, and if your work is systematic, rather than jumping from one thing to another, then of course you can achieve very good profits and excellent results.
At the peak of the potato harvest in September and October, the price is of course at its lowest, because everyone is harvesting them then. There are a lot of potatoes, yes. Then, when the harvest season ends and the frosts come, you need to store the potatoes somewhere so they don't freeze, and after that, the price goes up. The potato business is all about storage. Storage? Storage? Whoever has storage can be in the potato business, because then it becomes a business. Then the potatoes you dug up, you store them, keep them, and you can sell them throughout the whole season. And then we're talking about a different price. We're talking about your stability in supplying potatoes, because everyone loves stability. Processors love stability. Supermarkets love stability. Everyone does. We don't have enough capacity, enough storage facilities to store potatoes, because right now we estimate that there is only about 350,000 tons of potato storage in Ukraine, while the minimum requirement is 600,000 tons. That's just the minimum requirement. But if we move towards potato processing, we'll need storage facilities for about 1 million tons of potatoes. Exactly.
This is a Dutch variety, Challenger. It's grown for French fries, and
It's so truly and absolutely cool. They are all perfectly and beautifully shaped. If you look at this Ukrainian one, it's really bigger, but it's like this. But these ones, look, 1, 2, they're all just perfectly shaped. So when do they actually harvest potatoes? I think by the time we come, it will already be harvested. From
September 15th to 30th is the best time, because at the beginning of October there could already be frosts.
this is our
This particular potato variety, known as Brook, is one that we genuinely appreciate and cultivate. We really like it because it is quite remarkably drought resistant and consistently gives a very good yield. It usually grows to be a bit smaller in size compared to other common potato varieties, because it needs to accumulate more dry matter and accordingly work harder. And it's much harder for it to produce a large tuber. But it has a higher content of starch and dry matter and an optimal level of sugars. And as a result, we get something really cool, great, and hot.
money is always made in the economy through this added value. So you have potatoes, you can sell potatoes, or you can sell mashed potatoes, or you can sell French fries. And each of them is more expensive, more expensive, more expensive, more expensive.
Yes, this is the trend that is now moving very quickly in Ukraine. People are switching to fast food. People are switching to eating in cafes, ordering food, and so on. These are people who work intensively and those who simply don't have time to peel potatoes. If my grandmother used to peel potatoes, some for the pigs, some for herself, some for her grandchildren, then my younger son will absolutely never peel potatoes. He will only eat fries. He will only eat potatoes that are already semi-processed, and obviously everyone tries to spend as little time as possible preparing potatoes. Ukraine cannot export potatoes to Europe due to quarantine restrictions. Europe is closed to us, it's taboo. Starch, finished product, no problem. If French fries were produced, that's fine. The fries market hasn't been killed. There are no French fries producers in Ukraine. All the French fries we consume in stores and supermarkets are imported from Poland. And that's a huge amount of foreign currency spent on importing French fries into Ukraine. And this is a huge problem for Ukraine.
I always thought that McDonald's sold our Ukrainian potatoes in stores, in restaurants. That's not our potatoes.
No, that's not our potatoes. Because even if we take the average, market potatoes are always special during that period. As the Serb mentioned, September, October in foreign currency, they cost about 15 to 16 for the producer. CHIPS potatoes, which are much more difficult to grow and yield less, cost about 20 cents. And if we take French fry potatoes, in Europe right now, the contract price for French fry potatoes from the producer is 32 to 33 euro cents. Growing CHIPS potatoes is a very high level. And growing French fry potatoes is the highest level of mastery. French fry potatoes need to be very large in size, preferably elongated. And with those percentages of their components, there is also a limited number of varieties worldwide.
By the way, many people think that French fries were invented in the USA. But that's not true. In English-speaking countries, they're even called French fries, meaning potatoes cooked the French way. But that's not true either, because French fries were first made in Belgium at the end of the 17th century. That's how it is.
Now, in Ukraine, there are a few small companies that are just trying to make French fries at home. They might be succeeding, which is good, but it's on a very small scale. The global market for processed potatoes for fries is growing by 5% per year. The prospects are just insane. But we need to learn how to do this. Do the Poles do this? And everyone says, yes, the Poles do it. Where the Poles do it is 150 to 200 kilometers north of Ukraine. They get over 100 millimeters or 80 millimeters more rainfall there. And it's a much milder climate where they don't have the 27 to 30 degree heat waves that we get. So when we talk about a French fry plant in Ukraine, I believe it should be a cooperation of fairly large potato producers who are technologically capable of growing the potatoes and who can supply this plant in Ukraine with potatoes. And in general, when we talk about potato farming, processing should account for at least half. The country, the state, needs to at least somehow give some weight to the development of professional potato farming, at least support it, at least somehow. At the very least, equate the construction of storage facilities with the construction of processing enterprises. They are very closely related. We won't have potato processing like the same fries plant that needs 60,000 tons of potatoes. Unless enterprises are built specifically for this plant, or unless they have 60,000 tons of storage, processing will appear after storage facilities are in place.
The brain center of our farm is our laboratory. Here we conduct analyses of absolutely all the potatoes. Today, the requirements for potatoes, especially those used for chips, are extremely high. And here we actually recreate the entire technological process so that at the plant, producers already know exactly what they're getting and what needs to be done. This is our sample that we just collected in the field of chip potatoes. And now we'll compare it by frying with table potatoes to see what result we get. First, we check the dry matter content. This is crucial for chip potatoes because during frying all the water evaporates and only the dry matter remains. Next, we peel it, slice it, wash it, clean it in our fryer, and then it gets fried.
Our main clients to whom we supply our potatoes are companies that process potatoes. First and foremost, these are chip companies that buy potatoes from us.
You know that Lay's chips are made from your potatoes.
Lay's chips. Our main client is PepsiCo Sandora, who are our primary customers. This year we are supplying them with about 8,000 tons, whereas before the war we supplied 12,000 tons. And the company Chipster, a Ukrainian producer from Dnipropetrovsk, we also supply them with potatoes.
So, Yevgen, we fried both chip potatoes and table potatoes and the result speaks for itself. That is, in table potatoes, due to the presence of a very large amount of reducing sugars, they caramelize during frying and the potato darkens. As a result, it loses both its taste qualities and visually looks very unappealing. In chip potatoes, these processes are more stabilized. All the sugars are converted into starches, so there are no free reducing sugars.
Having learned from experience, I can say that this one is much tastier. I didn't even know that there is a separate type of potato for chips, that it's actually a completely different potato.
It's much more difficult to grow in every aspect.
If we're talking about moms worrying that chips aren't good or that something else is wrong, there are certain nuances to it. As for chips fried in sunflower oil, I haven't seen any problems at all. The problem I have seen is that the seasonings,
Can you please
play a negative role. I've also seen that if old equipment is used to fry chips, then at the final stage of chip production, a truly harmful substance is formed that can contribute to the development of cancerous tumors. But this only happens with those who fry using the wrong oil that can't withstand the temperature, and where old equipment is used. That's why chips fried properly without seasonings are the most popular in Europe today. It's clear why Lay's chips are the best, because they pay a lot of attention to product quality. And even if some potatoes are of poor quality, during photo separation they discard those potatoes and only let the highest quality potatoes go into the bag. Obviously they lose out because of this, and they lose a lot, because a potato that has already been fried has used up oil. And that's a very large amount of expense. The processing itself is very expensive, but they still discard those and only allow high quality products into the bag. But today, all the potatoes used for Lay's are Ukrainian, although there may be some Polish options as well. That's not the reason to choose a bag. There's a small barcode on the bag. If it says UA, that means it was produced in Ukraine at our factory from our potatoes, and the quality there is reliable.
Come on, I'll show you our harvester. It does the work of about 100 people who would otherwise harvest potatoes by hand. 100 people? 100 people. This is a German harvester, a Grimme combine. And its main task is to separate the soil from the potatoes so that at the end we get clean, good potatoes without any dirt. Basically, how it works is that at this stage it picks up 2 rows of potatoes, and then there's a system of separators that gradually clean the potatoes from the soil. At each stage, more and more soil is removed.
On the other hand, you go to the market and the grandmas say, "This is homegrown potatoes, grown right here in my own garden. This is homegrown potatoes. This is..."
It's a completely different story. What do grandmas do, or those who live in the village, when they plant potatoes? First, they scatter manure in piles
throughout
the year. Over the winter, this manure in piles releases nitrogen into the soil, and the nitrogen is very active because what they spread on the garden is not compost but manure, which contains a lot of nitrates, a lot of nitrogen. Then you go out to grandma's garden, and there, in those spots where the piles where the potatoes grow, here they're big, here they're young, there was a pile, over there they're big.
There
grows such a nice potato, but it contains double the normal amount of nitrates. And then you eat these homegrown potatoes and you feel unwell. There's a second part to the question. For example, we treat the potato plants against the Colorado beetle with a blue solution, and then we only treat them once against the beetle with Sepilia. We use modern products that are fully certified and have the best effect against the beetle. One treatment is enough to make it disappear, because the beetle has a very strong mutation and it gets used very quickly, gets used to any insecticide. He is very fast. 5 years and the beetle has already mutated, and this insecticide no longer works. What does a person do who is in the garden? She goes to the market where in such prepackaged
jars
pesticides of unknown origin are sold. And I sprayed this jar more than once so that it would pass neatly and the jet wouldn't hit the thing. It fell into that beetle, but it didn't get poisoned. He climbed back left, beckoning this one to the wrong place. "Give me another one." Then give a third, a fourth. And so over the year, they treat it several times with triple doses. And these are the salts of heavy metals with which they spray and treat this potato. Of course, it then gets absorbed into the potato. And that's the second reason why it's not recommended to eat homegrown potatoes.
Those who
grow professionally, first of all, we always get checked. Even when we send potatoes for processing, we do so with a huge batch that has been thoroughly inspected. We definitely test everything in laboratories for radionuclides, for heavy metal salts, for nitrates, for everything. In the same way, enterprises that receive it or supermarkets that buy from professional producers, they are always required to check as well. The fewer people grow potatoes on their household plots, the higher the nation's well-being was. And these words are absolutely true. We don't see this in modern Germany or in any European country or in the United States. No one grows potatoes at home in their garden or on their household plot. Because it's illogical, it's an anachronism nowadays, which leads to people not valuing their time, not counting anything at all. But it's all elderly people, people of middle age. They no longer want to grow these potatoes, which you can just go across the street to the supermarket and buy for 10 to 12 hryvnias on average if we look at the last 5 years.
So this is a machine that directly dumps the potatoes into containers. Here, a special system has been designed so that the potatoes don't get damaged and the drop height is minimized.
And what are these numbers?
Everything is shown here, how many kilograms have been loaded. So at the moment, there are 200 to 300 kilograms in this hopper.
It reaches exactly 1 ton, right?
It reaches 1 ton and stops. We've set it up so that it doesn't take in more than a ton of potatoes.
There's a common belief that Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. We have such rich black soil, such land, that you could stick a branch in the ground and everything will grow.
Is there black soil in Israel?
No, there isn't.
And where is the highest yield?
In Israel, then, it is.
That's the first indicator. Next, if we're talking just about soil, about black earth, Ukraine has a golden belt,
Which
stretches from western Ukraine, from the Carpathian foothills, through Vinnytsia, Cherkasy, Poltava, and all the way to Kharkiv region. These are soils that contain 2 to 3% humus. And these are soils that receive moisture. On any soil, without moisture, nothing will grow. These are the two components that make up this golden belt, understood? If we go down to the Kharkiv region where the sand has a humus content of 1.2, 1.3, maybe 1.5, that's a different story. When there's heat and only 350 millimeters of precipitation per year, then only irrigation will work here. So soil is the main thing. Irrigation is even more important today than the soil itself. In
The principle of how the machine itself works. There, you saw the pumping station, which supplies water under high pressure, about 8 to 9 bars. Then all this water enters the main system. Through this hose, it moves further into the irrigation pipes and goes to the sprinkler for watering. Right here is a very special reducer, where a significant portion of the water enters, and with the crucial help of this specifically designed reducer, we are able to effectively rotate the wheel itself, which subsequently allows the entire machine to gradually and smoothly wind up. Accordingly, what result do we get? We have a continuous flow, the machine gradually moves, and we evenly water the entire area with approximately the same amount.
So this machine arrives, it is rolled out there as far as possible, and it winds itself up automatically. And it itself
Then winds everything up by itself. That's right.
Tell me about your relocation. We evacuated everyone we could. We offered everyone, if you come, you'll have some kind of housing and you'll definitely have a job. This is very, very important because people are the most important thing. Unfortunately, it seems that our country doesn't really understand this. This is the most painful issue. These are the people who didn't stay there. The businesses that relocated here and unfortunately only faced problems. Those who had loans, including us. Not a single hryvnia was written off for us. For us, in some cases, they restructured the loans, especially since most of the loans we took were for irrigation for the south and for storage facilities for our investment needs.
everything was left there. So we took out loans, built things, they stayed there, but we still have to pay back the money. But the money
Has to be paid back here. So people who lost everything there managed to escape in a car with a suitcase and have some apartment in the non-occupied territory. The banks come after them, take away their cars, take away their apartments. The banks, which made 80 billion hryvnias in just half a year, and the debts of those businesses, well, some moved here, but what about those who still have things left there? It's only 32 billion hryvnias in total. And the banks, after earning 80 billion, they don't want to freeze these loans for 5 or 10 years, at least until the end of the war, and maybe a year or two after. These are exactly the people who used to run businesses there, who paid taxes, who know how to do it. Because losing those people who are able to organize, it's not even that big of a percentage, it's just 4%. Those who are capable of running a business, who know how to manage, who can take responsibility and everything else.
This is our new sorting complex, which we launched this year with the help of the USA. This is the equipment where the final cleaning of the potatoes takes place and where they are sorted by size. That is, so that small potatoes don't end up with the large ones and large ones don't end up with the small. This equipment was made in the city of Slavutich by a Ukrainian company, Technologist Ukraine, and it's actually one of the largest in Ukraine. Made in Ukraine, it consists primarily of a receiving hopper where the potatoes are unloaded from the truck. Next, there is a conveyor that evens out the flow. The first separator removes the smallest clumps of soil. And next we have manual inspection where the girls remove all the clumps that come through. Then here is a vibrating conveyor, which is a grader. We can see that it has perforations, it has holes. And it's through these holes that the smallest potatoes fall through. And we can see that the potatoes are divided into two streams, smaller and larger, which then move on and fill the containers. And this is already the final and crucial stage before the potatoes are carefully sent to supermarkets, when the comprehensive final quality inspection and secure packaging diligently take place, after which these potatoes are then sent directly to Ukrainian stores.
Well, that's it. The potatoes are ready to be sent to the supermarkets. There are problems here. Problems with irrigation, investments, a lot of difficulties. And yet, after leaving Kherson, you stayed in Ukraine, developing your business, building new production.
I know. I am sure that I will return home to the left bank of Kherson region. 7 generations, the Rybalko family name, have lived in Kherson region and on the left bank. This is my homeland. This is where I was not born. Where are the graves? We cannot give it away. We have no right to. I've traveled a lot around the world. And once I heard a story about how Ukraine comes from Portugal, telling how beautiful it is here. It's beautiful here, clean, everything is nice, everything is good, everything is fine. And an old Portuguese man sits and says, "You're from Ukraine? What are you doing here?" He says, "Well, I came to work. It's nice here. It's good." He says, "You came here now, but my grandfather, when there was just swamp, stones, and dust on this road, he stood up and built this road. And this house was built by my father. And this is what I did." That is, for your own country where you were born, that's where you should make a difference. This is your country. You can't just change it and go somewhere else. It needs to be defended. Here is where you need to work, to build, to create, to do what you do. There's a war outside, but you are building, investing, and putting in such resources. Because we will live here. If we are confident that we will live here, invest, and put our money here, then we will live here. First of all, I absolutely believe in Ukraine. I believe in the youth. This war has hardened them. It has made them very strong, righteous, and just. And our society has grown so much that its potential is enormous. And what do you think?
What is Ukraine's strength?
In freedom.
And freedom.
In willpower. Only in this. There is nothing else. The highest value is will.
The highest value is will. You couldn't say it better. That's about Ukraine. That's about Ukrainians. That's about Ukrainians.